And suddenly a work-related accident, it took me out, and it came out of nowhere. It took everything from me. It took my marriage, my family from here, my friends from me, the house, everything I thought this was it. It was all gone because of the injury that I had. And I was disabled for 3.5 years, depressed, heavily medicated, suicidal thoughts. And this is where I thought, is this all that life has to take from me? It can't take me out. And that's where I came out of it.
Welcome back to Time-Tested Mastery Life Lessons Sell, the show about trust-based selling, leadership, discipline, and real-world lessons that hold up under pressure. Today's guest is Jorge Gonzalez, an agent, investor, and property management professional from Oxnard, and the #1 best-selling author of Answer the Call, Life Lessons from Family Origins Through Invention and Struggle. Jorge's story is about reinvention. After becoming disabled and losing the ability to do the work he had spent 2 decades mastering, he faced a decision that a lot of people fear: get stuck in anger and grief, or rebuild. He chose to rebuild, drawing strength from family origins, faith, and a willingness to take calculated risks to move forward with purpose. In this episode, we're going to talk about resiliency, reinvention, obedience, and purpose, and how those principles translate into the real world for sales professionals and real estate agents who are trying to stay steady when life hits hard. So let's get into it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
I love the stories that I've read so far, and I can't wait for you to share it with the audience today. Can you give a little bit of your backstory, some of your growing up experience, and then talk a little bit about how you got to the point where you are today?
You know, if you would have asked me that a few years ago, I wouldn't be able to remember many things. But when I wrote my book, a lot of the things from my past actually came forward. A lot of experience through my childhood. And I realized that I've had some adversity my entire life, even as a small child. And I think those memories were blocked for a reason. So it wouldn't make me bitter or mad, angry, to the world and everybody around me. So, but now I realize that those experiences were not actually a bad thing now, because I can share them now, because I still have like that pure heart that I'm the giver, I'm the protector, I'm the helper, I'm the teacher, I'm the coach, the mentor. And had those bad things been so engraved in me, I might not have been able to become that person with that good, gentle heart. So, and these are the stories that I like to share now.
Yeah, that reminds me of a phrase that I've heard a long time ago that really sort of connects with me. It is the wounded healer. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, the wounded healer, but that's how you're describing yourself to me as we go through it. So as a kid, I always love to ask people this that are in the real estate business. When you were growing up, did you think when you grew up you'd want to be in the real estate business?
Absolutely not as a child. What the memories that come back now is that I always believed myself to be a special kid with special powers, and that I believed that God was going to use me for something great, but I just didn't know what it was. But that's what I've always believed as a child. And and even till today, I still stick to that story, because I still believe that he's using me and everything that I've gone through through the stories, the journey, that we can overcome. If little guy George overcame this, what's the reason why you can't do that? So I believe the special part comes from that as well.
So one of the questions that I had for you was, because you use that phrase, being called, you've received the call.
Mhm.
So what does that mean to you? I mean, even more than in a spiritual way, but what does that mean to you to be called? What do you feel like you've been called to do?
I believe, no, I know that God has a very special mission for me, to motivate and inspire people, and show the ugly parts of life, and that we are capable of so much more, regardless of how much stuff we go through. We don't have to really accept our failures to identify ourselves, but knowing that I overcame those failures, I overcame those obstacles, and I'm still standing here because not only do I have so much faith that I know that I'm going to become more, but I have somebody that's protecting me and carries me in the moments that I cannot carry on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. So, where did that belief come from?
To be honest with you, it's engraved so much deep into my soul and in my heart that regardless of how difficult life was, I never was able to turn my back on my faith and the things that I believed in, regardless if I was at the very bottom and say there's nothing left here, still having faith that this is as low as I can go. And I know there's recovery from here. I'm going to get up from here. He's going to lift me from here. And I am going to walk into the life that I'm meant to walk into. Because if this is all life has to destroy me, it can't. And that's when you have to, again, get back into what you believe in and your faith and understand this is not the first time I go through something. It may not be the last, but I'm going forward from here again.
Tell them about the 20 years that you spent mastering your work life.
I was in warehouse distribution, logistics, and management. I did that for 20 years. I believe that was said, great career, great benefits, great salary, had the white picket fence, family. I had everything I've ever wanted. And what society wants is that this is what success means, and suddenly a work-related accident, it took me out and it came out of nowhere. It took everything from me. It took my marriage, my family from here, my friends from me, the house, my everything I thought this was it. It was all gone because of the injury that I had. And I was disabled for 3.5 years, depressed, heavily medicated, suicidal thoughts. And this is where I thought, is this all that life has to take from me? It can't take me out. And that's where I came out of it. That was that was the second time. And it was the worst time. And that's when it almost like we hear about it puts your chip on your shoulder, but it didn't just put a chip on my shoulder. I felt like this sense of empowerment, knowing that no, God really has my back.
Wow.
Because I'm still here.
So you experienced what so many people I see in life are doing today is that there's a great fear. There's this great fear of failure. There's a great fear that something bad is going to happen to us. And your life was going exactly the way that everybody considered success to be. And all of a sudden, the very worst thing that could possibly happen happened to you. And you're here to tell people how you survived it. So talk about the process of what you went through and how you came out of it.
First, I thought, I'm such a good person. I'm a good man. Why did this happen? I asked those questions. And the answer, again, back to the story, is there was a reason why that was happening. And I didn't have to understand it. I just had to go through all the emotions, and I did not let the emotions get the best for me, but I just allowed to go through them, whether it's anger, whatever feeling that I had, I went through it. I didn't push it. I just went through it. Like almost like you cut something. I just went through it and I just came out of the other side. And I believe that part right there empowered me more because I literally we hear this all the time. Oh, you have to feel your emotions. You got to, well, guess what? I did that and I went head on, and that's how I was able to overcome the emotions. And then it was time to rebuild from that point.
Okay. So is that when you started to get into real estate as you were coming out of that experience? Is that what started your real estate career?
That's exactly when I got into real estate. Okay. I got into it. I asked the question. I looked up. I go, okay, God, now what? I can't go back in the industry that I was there for 20 years because physically I'm not going to be able to handle that because I was walking with the cane. I was still like really, really messed up. My body was really messed up. And I knew I couldn't go back there. And I heard this whisper. And the whisper said real estate. And I'm like, okay, real estate? Okay. I was doing kitchen and bathroom remodels and rehabs with my dad and my uncle since I was 14 years old. I bought my first
Okay.
property at 21, my second property at 25. I had bought an apartment complex at 29, at 25. And I was like, wait a minute, real estate is not something that I don't know. Real estate is something that I do know, just a different part of real estate, not sales, but I do know about like rehabbing property, stuff like that. I can use that experience as a brand new agent. And that's exactly what I did. I went, I took my class, I passed the test, and I got involved with a buddy of mine. And I closed like 12 deals my first 16 months as a brand new agent because I utilized that experience. So I had to
Right.
reinvent myself with everything that I had in my arsenal. And that's how I was able to succeed in real estate.
Okay. So you came out of a warehouse distribution company to a disability, 3.5 year project to come out of that, experience the worst transformation that forced transformation probably
Yeah,
is
force.
what I would best say. It was, you were forced to do it. And so you reinvented yourself in real estate and were successful within your first 16 months. Talk about what you did as a new agent. What were the things that you did to find business, and what was your experience like in that first 16?
Well, the 20 years of management really helped me out. And the reason I say that is because I knew that I had a lot of relatable experiences as a leader. I was able to look at things a certain way, always find a solution to fix things. And I brought the rehab part of it, the background that I had. And every time I walk into a property with a client, I was always looking for solutions to fix things. Like if the property needed rehab, I explained to my clients, look, this is what you see, but this is what you don't see. And I would make them envision a house that needed a lot of work to what potential they can do financially with the money that they had, and maybe hire some family friends or neighbors or whatever the case may be that put in some sweat equity in the properties. And when I would speak to them about this, I brought down the guards and they said, wait a minute, George, I trust you. I trust it because you're not just want to sell me this house, but you're trying to find solutions for the things that are very scary as a brand new homeowner. I'm going to invest
Yeah.
my money. I'm going to put it for my 401k or whatever money that I have. But you're actually saying that this is what you can do to minimize a potential exposure of over fixing something. And that's
Yeah.
how I was able to gain their trust.
I think it's really important what you just said. And every single real estate person, young or old, new or old, needs to hear that, is that our clients need us to be solution oriented. I've told people that I've worked with for years is that anybody can bring me a problem. I mean, that's what I get all day. People bring problems to me all day. I'm a problem solver. If you want to be successful in this business or any business, be the person that other people bring their problems to and offer them solutions. And that's how you found your success. That's pretty
Exactly.
exciting. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I have a note here from some of the stuff that I've read about you is that you credit your parents and grandparents with shaping your mindset. So can you share a little bit about how they did that?
My family, my grandfather came from Mexico under a Bracero program. That was a program that was initiated back in World War II. American people needed workers, and that's when my grandfather came. So they taught me about hard work and sacrifice, determination, that we're willing to do whatever it takes to feed the family. And that's what was engraved in me since I was a small kid. My father also worked in the farm fields. I worked in the farm fields we were able to back when I was like 10 or 12 years old. You can't do that anymore because of the labor laws. But back then, parents could take the kids during summer and to work alongside with the parents. So that engraved in me what it felt to do hard work and hard labor and to really appreciate what you have and really appreciate that when I spend my money, is this a necessity, a want, or a luxury? So that is what was engraved in my family values growing up. And this is something that
Yeah.
I still uh, use today, and it's what I engraved into my daughters as well too.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lesson number 2, George, is that having a good, strong work ethic is something that is pretty helpful if you want to be successful, regardless of what you're doing. So you list in your book, I believe, 3 teachable ideas: reinvention, obedience, and purpose. Can you define each one of those in plain English the way that a busy agent can actually apply it to their business?
I'll start first with obedience. You have to be obedient to what you believe you're supposed to do. Now, doing what we do is not a hobby, and if it is, you need to get out because it shouldn't be a hobby. This should be something that, no, this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm being called to do. Whether it's later in life that you're reinventing yourself, that you're bringing all your experiences forward, and this is what you came up with. Now you have to be obedient because you have to use these things. Now, it is going to get tough and we're going to want to quit. And yes, that's going to happen. But when you're obedient to what you're supposed to do and be, you're not going to give up unless you lack discipline. And we all know a lot of people lack discipline, and it's going to cost you much, much bigger pain for not being obedient. And purpose itself goes right along when you believe that you're doing something that you're supposed to do. I mean, there's people that are supposed to be in sales because they're so good at it. They make people feel good in certain ways. Of course, there's people that they might use their gift as a bad thing to take advantage of people, but we're not talking about those people. We're talking only about the people that are looking to do good. This is why we get into sales, because we want to provide a product and a service to people, and hopefully this product is a product that we believe in, and also the service that we provide, we're providing it at top A+ level, so purpose and your purpose, they go hand in hand. Right now for me, I believe that I am meant to motivate and inspire people that are going through it, have already gone through it, and they're still trying to figure things out. That's what I believe I'm being called to do. And I believe that that is my purpose. Being obedient, God knows I'm obedient because everything that I've gone through, and I still haven't given up, and I'm still sticking to that plan. And the belief that I have that this is what God wants me to do. He wants me to motivate and inspire people. He wants me to show my story, regardless how painful it is and how ugly it would have been. He wants me to show people, if George is willing to open himself to you, there's a reason for that. Not everybody's going to hear that, but only the people that are meant to hear it are going to hear it. Because that's what I'm being called to do.
And that third word that was there was reinvention.
Reinvention is a word that I surprise people when I say that. When I was a real estate agent, well, I'm still in real estate, the new people that would come to me, they would struggling. And I would ask them, let me ask you this. What were you doing before you came into real estate? Well, I was doing this, this, and this. Okay, hold on a second. So what you're saying is you have this knowledge that can get integrated into real estate. So you're not a new agent. You have this experience, a block of experience that goes back 20 years. Use that experience when you talk about real estate now, whether it be it's gardening, rehabbing, rebuilding, decorating properties. This is all relatable to real estate. Loans, origination. This is all relatable. So use that relatable experience and reinvent yourself in this new career that you have now embarked on. Because we're not starting from scratch. We're starting from experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So the three things that you said, obedience was being obedient to what your own heart and your own mind is telling you is the right thing. That's what I took from what you shared there. The thing I really loved about what you said about purpose is that I'm thinking of one particular individual that is probably the best salesperson that I ever knew. I mean, he had all of the skills to deal with people in a way that would make them feel comfortable. But the relationships ended so badly for him because he didn't have their best interest in mind. He would use all of those skills to manipulate them. And then when the people finally realized that they were being manipulated down a road they didn't want to go, and they said, hey, hold it, things became very, very distasteful with working with that particular salesperson. So I loved how you talked about having the ethics to have a good purpose, to use your skills for a great purpose. Yeah, and then the last one in reinvention is that, from my standpoint, I'm 62 now. I started selling real estate when I was 21. And one of my friends told me, he says, you've got an extraordinary career because you reinvent yourself every single year. The real estate market is evolving. Customer attitudes are changing all the time. The interest rates are changing. Property values are changing. The market dynamics are changing all the time. And so I share with people all the time, there is a perfect business plan for every market, but not every market is the same. So you have to reinvent it over and over and over again. And I heard you talk about that. I love that you said that. Can you give me an example of a real life setback that you had in real estate and how you overcame that?
I think the biggest one was when I first became a real estate agent. Of course, I came in disabled, broken, broke, right?
Right.
My very first client, I could have convinced her to buy the condo she was looking at, but I knew it wasn't the fit for her because she was going to go against her plan. I asked her, what is your plan? How do you see yourself? What do you want to do? And she wanted to deviate from that. And I went back and said, no, hold on a second. You're going to deviate from this. I want to make the sale, but you want to deviate from this. And she said, oh my God, George, you're right. You're not just trying to close me. You're right. I don't want to deviate. I wanted exactly what we talked about at the very beginning. So I did that. My very first 3 clients, the same thing happened. I was broke. I was new into real estate. But I told them, no, that's not what you said. That's not how much money you wanted to spend. That's not how the kind of property that you wanted. That's not how big or small the property you wanted. But because of that, after that, the gates opened for me.
Yeah.
After that,
because you earned their trust. That's an amazing thing.
they were able to trust me because I wasn't about a sale. I wasn't about the sale. I wasn't hungry. I was hungry, but I didn't let my need for me affect their decision to make the best decision for them. I wasn't going to do that to him.
Awesome. So today you are working to share your story and inspire others, and we're going to talk about your book in a little bit. But one thing that I would like for you to share with everyone is, what are the warning signs that somebody is being called to reinvention or somebody is being called to change and they are being resistant to it?
If you're being resistant, everything's going to fail. Everything you do is going to be a headache. There's going to be a lot of pain involved. You're going to be confused because you're going against the grain. And I mean going against the grain in a good way. I mean going against the grain in a bad way, because you're being called to do something and you're being stubborn and you want to go somewhere else. So he's going to allow you to go the direction that you want. And it's going to be, nothing's going to work out for you. You're not using your gifts. You're not using your talents. And clearly you're not following your life's purpose. But once you start getting into alignment, you'll start hearing and knowing, because I talk about knowing and people are sometimes like, George, that doesn't make any sense. Well, hear me for a second. He will put this knowing in your heart that there is no mistake that who put it there. When it's time to, wait a minute, I'm supposed to do this. I was called to write my book during the pandemic. And I was like, wait a minute, everything is shut down. How can I write a book during a pandemic? That makes like no sense. But he placed it in my heart. There was no way I could have not do it. The only option was to write the book during the pandemic because I was called to do it. And I ignored it for a couple of weeks, but it kept coming back and back and back. And not in a ugly, violent feeling, but like this warm, beautiful feeling. It's time to write the book. Awesome. I'm calling you to write the book.
That's a great lead into the book, George. So tell everybody the title again of your book and tell them what it's about and where they can find it.
My book is called Answer the Call. Answer the Call is about finding your gifts, your talents, and pursuing your life's purpose. That's what that title means. In that title, it's funny because I was going to call it American Inventor because I'm also an inventor. But when I was finalizing the title, I heard this whisper. This strong, beautiful, soft whisper that said, answer the call. And then I heard it a second time. And then I repeated it out loud because I was on the phone with my publishing company and I said, answer the call. Like, what is that? That's the name of the book. Where did you get that? It was just whispered to me. Okay, George, we're scrapping American Inventor. We're going with Answer the Call. American Inventor was going to be for self. Answer the Call is for the world. It's a message for the world. We're being called to answer the call. And the call is going to be different for everybody. You might have, your calling might be to be a doctor, a lawyer, an attorney, a provider to the community, or write a book, coach, teach, mentor, whatever it is. It's going to be different for many people. A fireman, a policeman, a soldier, I don't know. It's going to be different. Right. But what I do know for sure is that every single one of us has a calling and a purpose. But we have to listen, pay attention, be at peace, and we'll know exactly what we're meant to do. Because he'll plant it on our hearts, in our souls, in our spirits. And there's no mistake who put it there, and there's no mistake what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, to have that connection with the Creator. I mean, I can tell that you're a man of faith because there's really that connection between what we're called to do and what our purpose is, and you seem to be really an expert on focusing in on that. That's what our purpose is to answer that call. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stories in my book are stories that I've been wanting to share for a very, very long time. Stories of my grandfather and the work ethic and the upbringing, because that's the foundation of everyone. Where your family comes from, that's the foundation. Whether it's your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your ancestors, that's the foundation. If you want to build something solid, build it on that. Yeah. And if you want to give up, guess what? That foundation will not allow you to give up.
Do you mind sharing one short story from the book to give people a preview of what they would get if they order it?
I just mentioned a very powerful story about my grandfather, but I will mention a second one. My father passed away when he was 53 years old from cirrhosis of the liver. They gave him 6 months to live. We were able to keep him around for 8 more years, but he passed at 53. I am 53 right now. And every time when I turn 53, I look myself in the mirror. I look at my father. I'm like, this is when he passed. I feel so healthy. I want to make sure that I am here for my child. Hopefully God gives me the opportunity to meet my grandkids, be around with family. My mom's still alive, my siblings. I want to be here for them. And I've always wanted to share that story when my father passed 24 years ago. But I never had an opportunity to share that story. I knew that if I share that story, I can make an impact to people that maybe are suffering from substance abuse, or maybe not take care of themselves. Maybe they've displaced from their families, and maybe they can come back by sharing that story. Because I believe in family unity. I believe in family values. What else are we other than family? There's nothing else. The money's going to go, everything's going to go away. Everything can disappear today. But family is always there. They're there at our festivities, and they're there when we get buried. So let's take advantage of that time that we have and keep ourselves healthy. And this is why I share that story, to prevent things like that.
Yeah. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that story. Let everybody know that's listening today where they can find your book, George.
You can download the free online version from Amazon Kindle. You can find my book on Amazon. You can find it on my website at jorgevgonzalez.com. You can find me on all the social media platforms, George_V_Gonzalez. And like I said, free online version is available. I'm about to do a rebrand and a relaunch of my book. Like I said earlier, I humbled myself way too much. I didn't put my face in the book. Now I'm taking complete ownership of my book, my journey, and everything God has put in my heart to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, why don't you do me one last favor as we wind up today is share the one idea, the most important message that you want the listeners to take away from our talk today.
I want everybody to understand that we all have a purpose and that we all have a calling, and no one can tell you what that is. I can't tell you what that is, but deep down inside, you know exactly what it is, and it's time to listen. It's really time to answer that calling, because that is your life's purpose.
George, thank you for sharing that. That took courage, and I know it's going to land for a lot of people. Here's the takeaway for everyone listening. Life will force reinvention on you at some point. The question is whether you'll resist it or answer the call and rebuild with purpose. The people who win long-term aren't the ones who never get hit. They're the ones who keep moving forward with discipline, faith, and a commitment to grow. If you got value from today's conversation, do two things. Share this episode with someone who's going through a hard season and leave a review so the right people can find the show. You can learn more about George and his work at georgegonzalez.com, and you can connect with him on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'll put those links in the show notes. So this is Mark Dolan, and you've been listening to Time-Tested Mastery Life Lessons Sell. Keep building skills that last and a life that holds up under pressure.